Tov, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see everyone. I hope that your week has been good. At least Shabbat is here, and Shabbat is a day for us to just focus on being rather than doing. And so as we start our prayers tonight, let's just take a moment to breathe in and to breathe out a little bit, to bring some calm and some focus into our bodies and into our spirits in this space that we're in. As we welcome Shabbat, tradition says we gain an extra neshama yetera, a little bit of an extra soul, extra ensoulment on Shabbat, that brings us a taste of that sense of shlemut, that sense of wholeness that perhaps is elusive during the rest of the week when we're too busy running and doing and worrying and stressing. On Shabbat, if we take an extra neshama yetera, the word neshama, if you pointillate it slightly differently, you get nishima, which is breath. We take an extra breath. It gives us a chance to breathe, really, to relax a little bit, to bring our focus into what really matters, and to being together, and to welcoming peace and joy into our lives. So let's begin on page 19 with the words of Psalm 96. Shiru l'Adonai kol ha'aretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth, sing to God a new song. Welcome Shabbat with light. So it's my pleasure to call upon Lena Rule, who's going to lead us in one of the meditations on page 20 and 21, and then light our Shabbat candles for us.
So responsively on page 21, Bet. This Shabbat lends light upon us, light for the days to come. We have leisure by which to see the world with new and grateful eyes. We have time now to look inward, and now we are free to embrace family and friends, to make our lives simpler and more complete.
We think of our homes and those we love when we call to mind the duties and affections of home, how greatly are all blessings enriched, all cares and sorrows softened.
May the hearts of parents and children always be turned to one another, that our homes may be sanctuaries of love and devotion. May we use this Shabbat to bring happiness to our family life and blessing to our people.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu On page 24, the words of Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh avad achan, Yedid Nefesh avad achan, Meshav avadecha, El ritzoncha, Meshav avadecha, Page 27, reading Gimel. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to holiness and time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Page 29, the words of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat olam, b'nei Shabbat nekavla. Lecha Dodi likrat olam, b'nei Shabbat nekavla. Lecha Dodi Please be seated and join with me responsively on page 34. How can I sing of day and night when it is God who formed them? How can I sing of mountains and hills when it is God who planted them?
How can I sing of seas and deserts when it is God?
And how can I sing of earth and its fullness when it is God who bade them be?
I shall sing to God who fashioned all and is beyond all. It is to God I shall sing.
We rise in body or in spirit for the words of Baruch Hu at the top of page 36. Please be seated. We continue with the prayer for creation, the words of Ma'ariv Aravim at the top of page 37. We praise you, eternal our God, whose presence fills creation. Your word brings on the evening twilight. You open the gates of dawn with wisdom, and with foresight you make times pass and seasons change. Your plans
As the forces of stars in the sky, creating day and night, turning light into darkness, and darkness into light.
You make the day fade away and bring on the night, separating day and night. You rule the hosts of heaven.
We praise you, eternal one, who brings on the evening twilight.
Page 40. We rise in body or spirit to sing the words of Shema Ve'ahavta. As we listen to these words, we open our ears, we open our hearts. בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל לבבך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושירתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ובקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. Please be seated. On the top of page 42, we continue with reading Aleph. All this we hold to be true and certain. The eternal alone is our God. There is none else. And we are Israel, God's people.
I command the mighty that fear delivers us from the hand of human oppressors and saves us from the vicious tyrants.
You perform wonders without number, marvels that surpass our understanding.
You urge us for life and drive us into some stumble.
You did wonders for us in Egypt, miracles and marvels in the land of Pharaoh.
You led your people Israel out, forever serving you freedom.
When your children beheld your power, they praised you and gave you thanks. Freely they accepted your sovereignty, and Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you with great joy. Page 44.
Oh,
As you redeemed Israel and saved us from arms stronger than our own, so may you redeem all those who are still oppressed and persecuted. We praise you, Eternal One, Redeemer of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. On page 45, we pray the words of the night prayer, asking God to watch over us and to protect us until we awaken in the morning with renewed life, renewed strength. Page 49. Yikadol v'yikadash me Rabbah. Be'am ha'divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchutai. B'chayechon u'b'yamechon. U'chayei d'chol ben Yisrael. We rise for the words of the Amidah on page 50. Adonai, sifatai tiftachu, v'yagid ilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Eloheinu Eloheinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor Ha'nora, El Hayom, Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like the softness of moonlight, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed. And we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Please be seated. On page 54, top of the page. You are one, your name is one, and there is none like your people Israel, a people unique on the earth. A garland of glory have you given us, a crown of salvation, a day of rest and holiness. Abraham rejoiced in it, Isaac sang, Jacob and his children were refreshed by its rest. In this rest are love and sharing, truth and faithfulness and peace, quiet and safety. It is the perfect rest that you have willed. May your children come to understand that this Shabbat rest links them to you, that by it they may hallow your name. And we join together responsibly on the top of page 59 with words of avodah, words of prayer, asking God to hear our prayer. I saw Jerusalem from Mount Scopus, and she was perfect and whole, little yet limitless, within her borders, contained and yet uncontainable. Eastward the hills of Judah, wrapped in white and blue, are ministering priests, and silently they meditate blessing, and burn the snail shell incense. And on the hills and pits the embers, still whispering, burn as if spice were being perfumed there in the twilight by the roasting of the sun's coals on censers of shadows. Heaven was for me like a single coal kept on the altar, that each nation and guardian might come and brighten it with tongs and take from it an ember. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato letzion. We praise you, Eternal One, who brings your Shekhinah to Zion. The bottom of the page, Modim anachnu lach she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu. We are grateful, we are thankful that you are our God and that you are our Creator. Modim anachnu lach she'atahu Page 62. Radiant is the world's soul, full of splendor and beauty, full of life, of souls hidden, of treasures of the Holy Spirit, of fountains of strength, of greatness and beauty. Proudly I ascend toward the heights of the world's soul that gives life to the universe. How majestic the vision. Come enjoy. Come find peace. Embrace delight. Taste and see that God is good. Why spend your substance on what does not nourish and your labor on what cannot satisfy? Listen to me and you will enjoy what is good and find delight in what is truly precious. We take a few moments to pray the words of our own hearts. Page 66. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us, on all Israel, and all the world.
Israel.
turn to page 133 for the words of Mishaber for healing. And on this Shabbat, we think about those in our communities, in our family, in our congregation who are in need of healing of body and healing of spirit. In particular, on this Shabbat, we are praying for Harry Richter, Francis Hernick, Wilfred Walker, Shirley Herman, Esther Vuckenmark, Rick Valentine, Marlene Friedman, Jack Kudlatz, Suzanne Scher-Stimson, Bernie McLennan, Harriet Lockman, Jill Rich, Nicola Proetti, Eliyahu Ben Yitzhak Visara, Rebecca Bodel, Parker Kaiko, Philip Shepard, Carl Katz, Nicole Hansen, Raina Rowan, Gilon Naruzzi, Madeline Kitson, Kathy Kitson, Dee Hickey, Lorraine DaCosta, Adela Tsur, Al Lofsky, Evelyn Tyndall, Amanda Schenk, Daniel Black, Jean Elizabeth Pitt, Shmuel Ben Devora, Pauline Portnoy, Erwin Milgram, Karen Smith, Francis Van Tyne, and David Wozniak. And I invite you to share any names of those that you are praying for out loud if you wish.
Ada Flaherty, Caitlin Lambert.
We pray for their comfort and their strength as we sing these words of prayer together. This week in Parshat Vayishlach, we come to our point in the story where Yaakov becomes Yisrael, where Jacob becomes Israel. And the setting is that Jacob and his twin brother Esau are now adults. They've separated for 20 years after Jacob took his brother's birthright, and Esau swore that he would kill Jacob in revenge, and 20 years later, their paths are about to cross. And we put ourselves in Jacob's shoes and wonder, how would we feel? Would we feel hopeful that maybe bygones were bygones and they would forgive each other and move on? Would we feel terrified that maybe Esau was still there out to get us? What would we do? What would we say? How would we act? And of course, as he is preparing, he's anxious and nervous and worried, and so he decides better to meet his brother with a big group of people and lots of gifts. So maybe like an army of people. And a lot of gifts just in case. And he makes plans. And then, the night before, he can't sleep. Or perhaps he is sleeping. It's hard to know. He decides that he's going to spend the night alone on the banks of the river. And he either sleeps and dreams another dream in which he is wrestling, or perhaps he is awake and not dreaming and actually wrestling with an angel or with himself. We're not really sure. The rabbis weren't either. And so our rabbinic commentators look at this particular part of the story with great interest, and they look at it from different perspectives. Some from a psychological perspective, a spiritual perspective, a personal perspective, sort of also historical, and maybe looking towards the future. You know, what does this represent for the Jewish people if, after all, Yaakov becomes Israel? So I wanted to share with you a couple of those commentaries, those teachings. Our sage Rashbam says Jacob feared meeting his brother and wanted to flee, and so God sends an angel to prevent Jacob from running away. And he injures Jacob to show him that he can't flee. And perhaps that's part of the story. Perhaps this is, Jacob's experience of standing up and realizing he can't run anymore. He can't run away from his brother. He can't run away from what's going on within himself. And picking up on that, Rabbi Morris Adler, much, much later, hundreds of years later, after the Rashbam, because he's a modern rabbi, says, no, really, it's Jacob's greatest enemy is within himself. It's that enemy that makes him serve false values, and it's pride that destroys his capacity to admit the truth. And that's really what's going on. This is part of Jacob's subconscious. It's not God sending an angel. It's really Jacob wrestling within himself. And our teacher, Rabbi Gunther Plaut, who is also the compiler and wrote a lot of the commentary for the book of commentary that we use, the Chumash, says that really Jacob is wrestling with his own guilt that he's felt about stealing the birthright and getting the blessing and taking what wasn't rightfully his. And so therefore the struggle isn't so much about dealing with his brother as much as it is, again, it's with himself. Elie Wiesel has a really interesting commentary. He says, at Peniel, the two Jacobs come together, and it's really different sides of Jacob. He says one is the Jacob who had doubts about himself, about fears for the future, and regrets about his behavior for his brother. And that side said, I deserve nothing. I'm less than nothing. I'm unworthy of blessings. I'm unworthy as my ancestors or as much as my descendants, and I'm unworthy to be the transmitter of God's message. And then, says Wiesel, the other side is Jacob, the dreamer. The one who is brave and future-looking and knew how hard he had worked up until this point. After all, he had built a dynasty. He had worked for his father-in-law Lavan, not 7 but 14 years. He had taken Leah and Rachel, and also Bilhah and Zilpah, and built a family and a fortune. And he had stood up to Lavan, and he knew who he was. He was the son of Isaac. And that through him, the survival, the destiny of the people was supposed to happen. And so, says Wiesel, that night on the banks of the river, those two sides of Jacob were fighting with each other. Jacob was wrestling with the question, who am I? Am I the one who isn't worthy? Am I the dreamer, the hero? What are my responsibilities now? And he says, this is what he struggled with. This is what he wrestled with. And at dawn, he would never be the same. He became a new person. His name is Yisrael, the one who wrestles and is now ready to wrestle with the world and is no longer the one who holds onto his brother's heel. Rizal says that Israel's history teaches us that true victory is the one that one achieves over oneself, that in fact Jacob had to make a choice here to take hold of the blessing, to take hold of who he was meant to be. And yet one other commentator, Naomi Rosenblatt, who wrote a fascinating book called Wrestling with Angels, she says it's about the spiritual journey. Returning home is a spiritual journey, and that attraction to returning home is irresistible at crucial junctures in our lives. A child returning home from school, an estranged family member returning, a young person returning from war. Home is the ultimate destination. And so what Jacob is battling, he battles in real life his wives, his uncle, a wronged brother, and then his guilty conscience. But returning to the land of his birth, she says, means that Jacob has to confront his troubled past. He's now of the age where he is responsible. He has a family, wives, children, servants, and herds, but it is still the little child inside of Jacob that searches for the courage to turn around and to come home. And so all of this is really about identity. It's about trying to find out who we are, trying to find out who we will become. As Jacob says to Esau after they finally meet and they kiss and embrace, he says, seeing your face was like seeing the face of God. And when Jacob realizes that he has to face not only his brother but himself, that's the point at which he crosses over the line which is the river. And it's why we call that a watershed moment. And it's not an accident that the symbol of his transformation begins once he has crossed over the water, because it's a liminal moment, and it really marks a profound change in his character and his moral development. And the parting blessing that he gets at the break of dawn tells us that Jacob has wrestled both with human beings, with himself, and with God. Whether it's literal or figurative, it's transformative, and that's really matters in this story. And so as we'll read tomorrow in the Torah portion, we'll read this story, we'll read the teachings of our sages, and we'll see ourselves in the story. In fact, we'll find ourselves becoming part of Bnei Yisrael, the children of the one who wrestles with God. That's who we are. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We turn now to the words of the Aleinu on page 149. I invite you to rise and join with me as we pray for the day when the world will be one and will be full of peace.
Adonai
be seated. Page 153. My father bequeathed me no wide estates, no keys and ledgers were my heritage, only some holy books with yard-site dates writ mournfully upon a blank front page. The snuff left on this page, now brown and old, the tallow stains of midnight liturgy. These are my coat of arms, and these unfold my noble lineage, my proud ancestry. And my tears too have stained this heirloom ground when reading in these treatises some weird miracle I turned a leaf and found a white hair fallen from my father's beard. At this time, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those of our friends and our neighbors, and all those people whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We recall the names of two for whom we are in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. Dr. Marvin Cezanne, the cousin of Arlene Botnick and Lorraine Chelsky. Sheldon Wozniak, the brother-in-law of Dove and Hillary Brown, the husband of Rochelle, father, grandfather, and uncle. We recall the names of the following whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death occurs this week. Desmond Lewin, the father of Gail Valentine. Elena Steinmetz, the grandmother of Stephen. Sarah Mirsky, the grandmother of Cheryl Englander and Alan Bardikoff. Mark DeVries, the cousin of Leo Van Tyne. Elsie Rowan, the mother-in-law of Raina and the grandmother of Lisa and Evan. Maurice Tortel, the father of Joe. Barbara Laderman, the sister of Doreen Levine. Leon Levine, the brother of Alan. Jack Iron, the father of Cheryl Shine and the grandfather of Elise, Rebecca, and Connie, and the husband of Florence. Richard Moorer, the brother of Eva Sarker. Arthur Signer, the father of Glenda Schulman and the grandfather of Holly. Jack Laskin, the uncle of Brian. Melvin Lupu, the father of Barbara Ziegler Lupu. Violet Main, the mother of Kim, and the grandmother of Emily and Benjamin Patnick. Bernard Bratz, the uncle of Richard Beer. Willie Haller, the husband of Leah, the father of Ron, Philip, and the late Aviv. The grandfather of Vivian, Matthew, Joshua, and Ethan. Christiane Abiento, the sister of Nicole Cohen. And Joseph Shapiro, the grandfather of Howard. If you are here to say Kaddish for someone whose name I haven't mentioned, you're invited to share their name aloud at this time. We ask the mourners to please rise first. As we say to Min Hamakom Tinachamu, may you find comfort in God's sheltering presence. Now, as a congregation, we all rise to support those who are mourning and to say Kaddish for those who have no one to say it for them. Page 159. Yitgadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon b'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman karim v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam alal me'al maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmeid v'desha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata dam yiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'ramav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol b'nei Adam, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all those who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved among us, among all of our people, and among all the nations and families of earth. We say together, amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure at this time to call upon Roz Allen, representing our board, to share greetings and announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, well, let's start with thank yous. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you to our tech volunteer, Emma Weisenbluth. And a reminder about upcoming services. And don't forget, they'll all be live streamed as well as in person. Tomorrow, Saturday, December 10th, there's a regular Shabbat service led by Beit Sefer classes grades 7 and 8 and followed by a communal potluck lunch. Next Friday, December 16th at 8 p.m. is a regular Erev Shabbat service, and December 17th at 10 a.m. is a regular Shabbat service. For current activities, updates, and announcements, please subscribe to Solel Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, and have a look at our website. If you haven't already made your financial arrangements, please check your email, bulk, and junk mail files, or call the office. Join Rabbi Pollack on Sunday for adult text study at 10:30 a.m. After Sunday, December 18th, Rabbi Englander will be leading 6 sessions with the 5 books of the Bible, starting Sunday, January 15th through February 19th via Zoom. Thursday lunches with Rabbi Pollack on December 15th. This will be the last session before her return from sabbatical. Tuesday morning minions. Next Tuesday, December 13th, is the last one, 7 a.m. Brief service, wonderful brunch, well, wonderful breakfast, I guess it's pretty early. And so that will resume January 10th, so this Tuesday is the last one. Don't forget, you can get your Hanukkah supplies here at Solel. Sunday is, December 11th is the last chance to get it at Beit Sefer until January. Latkes, you may order them from Dave Gordon, and you can contact the office to find out how to do that. Don't forget, December 18th is Solel's Hanukkah party. There won't be any Beit Sefer classes that morning, so please join us at 3 p.m. With latkes, dreidels, chocolate gelt, music, pizza dinner, face painters, balloonists, character artists, communal Hanukkah candle lighting. You can bring your candle matches and Hanukkahs. $10 per family or $4 per single. And wow, it sounds like a pre-COVID party. That's pretty cool. Women of Solel are going to be packing for the Embrave donations December 11th at 2 p.m. And you can meet here at Solel. And I think everything else can be found on our website, or have a look at our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Roz. We're going to conclude our service with Kiddush for Shabbat on page 163, followed by on owning Shabbat in the Kiddush room. So it's my pleasure to invite Larry Plenner, who's going to lead us on page 163. Please rise and join with him as we join in Kiddush.
Now the whole universe, sky, earth, and all their array was completed. With the 7th day, God had ended the work of creation, and rested of all work completed. Then God blessed the 7th day and called it holy, for with this day God had completed the work of creation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei v'ayin ha'tofim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat v'shal b'yadav v'ratzanim chilanu, zikaron l'ma'aseh bereshit, ki'u yom te'ila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zeh Chaim. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We wish you a joyous day of Shabbat, peace, and rest. Please come and join us for Oneg Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.